Green one. So yesterday, my family and I, we went whale watching for my son's 8th birthday. And it was the first time any of us had ever done this, and it was absolutely magical. I don't know how many of you have actually done this before, but we managed to have dolphins swimming out with us alongside as we went out the heads. And then we saw quite a few pods of whales and kept rising up out of the surface. It was absolutely incredible. And if I were to ask you to think about some of your best memories in your life, I'm pretty sure that experiences would rate up there pretty highly. You might have stories to tell about the first concert you ever went to, perhaps a long-awaited tropical holiday, perhaps the time that you proposed to your partner. These are all experiences. And I'd love to ask you all, who here is enjoying an experience? Hands up if you think the first person on the left is enjoying an experience. Okay, maybe half. Hands up if you think the person in the middle. Okay, person on the right. And if you think all of them. Yeah, okay, you guys have got this. So, all of these people are enjoying experiences in different ways, unique ways. So first up, we've got 2 women enjoying the Avatar experience at the Gardens by the Bay in Singapore. We have a woman enjoying an immersive experience at Team Lab Planets in Tokyo. And we have 2 kids enjoying Walt Disney World in the United States. And the thing is, even though each of these experiences is very unique, they've got some key ingredients that make them feel like magic when you're a part of them. And so my name is Sally Giblin, and when I'm at parties and people ask me what I do, and I tell them I work in climate change, they instantly start inching away from me like this, going, "Why me? It's Saturday night." But the thing is, climate change does not need to be all doom and gloom and all guilt and overwhelm. I'm one of the co-founders of Be the Future, and we create very playful, interactive climate solutions experiences for young kids. I'm also a volunteer at Parents for Climate, and I recently won an award for being an emerging educator at the tender age of 40. Thank you. So tonight what I'd like to talk to you about is the 5 key ingredients of creating magical experiences that we've discovered as we've been experimenting and testing and creating at Be the Future. And these are 5 ingredients that can be used across different industries and different capabilities as you're making progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals. So, the first ingredient is play. We all need play, even adults. If you had told my 25-year-old fashion buyer self, and yes, I used to be a fashion buyer, that I would be on national TV dressed as a reclaimed waste mermaid, I would have laughed in horror. But this was something that my co-founder and I did for World Ocean Day last year. And we washed up as reclaimed waste mermaids on Bondi Beach here in Sydney and in Brunswick Bay in the United Kingdom. And through different media, we reached about 25 million people with this because it was so playful. And we also managed to do a whole mermaid tour that wasn't even planned, all sorts of festivals and events and talks. And we got people talking about plastic pollution in the oceans, which of course is made from fossil fuels, so very much part of the climate crisis, and ways, importantly, to help solve it. Another thing that happened was Pete Zaglinski from Giblin actually dressed up as a merman and campaigned for mermen not microplastics on the Sydney Opera House steps and got on Channel 7 for it twice. They forgot to mention Be the Future, but that's okay. And again, this was all because it was so playful. And the thing is, being playful about climate action can have a myriad of benefits. It can build connectivity. It can boost resilience. It can, create more well-being, and it can also spark a lot of creativity. Play is actually the brain's favourite way of learning. And there's a really growing body of research that shows through all different types of disciplines, whether it's behavioural science, neuroscience, or ethology, that play is crucial not only for children, but also for adults and for thriving societies. Now this here is about play personalities. So there's an academic called Dr. Stuart Brown from the United States, and he founded the National Institute for Play. And he's developed as one of many things these 8 play personalities for adults. And you'll see there that there's a QR code that you can do later. If you scan that up, it's actually a play styles quiz where you can find out what your play personalities are. So essentially, adults usually have 1 dominant personality and 1 to 2 minor personalities. So if we look here, the first one, the Joker. The adults who play in a Joker type way, they often love to entertain and make people laugh. So think Jerry Seinfeld. The kinesthetic, they like to play through movement. So things like rock climbing, an example would be Serena Williams. The explorers, they like to play through investigating and learning. So someone like Jane Goodall. The competitor, they obviously like to play through competition, medals and accolades. An example would be Sam Kerr. The director, they like to play through organising and directing. An example there would be Oprah Winfrey. The creators, they like to create art or reimagine things. So an example would be Steve Jobs. The storytellers, of course, they like to tell stories. An example there would be Steven Spielberg. And the final one, the collectors, they like to discover and gather things together. So Jay Leno is an example with his classic car collection. The second ingredient, interactivity. So this is our interactive floor projector at Be the Future. And it's super fun because basically kids can use all sorts of props and their body to play these games where they explore climate solutions. And they literally squeal with delight. And that's not just the kids. And if you look here, these are some other examples of interactive things we do. We've got using recycled materials to develop solutions. We've got interactive storytelling. We've got creating solutions out of recycled cardboards and crafts materials. More things around sensory play. All different ways to engage students, hands-on, minds-on, hearts-on as well. And interactivity is not just for children. So there's actually a thing called Lego Serious Play. And it's a problem-solving methodology that originally came out of Lego, but it's been used now by a whole lot of very large companies, some of the most aspirational places in the world to work, in fact. So think Microsoft, Google, UNICEF. The third ingredient, stories. As humans, we're hardwired to enjoy stories. My co-founder and I, we actually met on a climate positivity hashtag. It was in the middle of the pandemic when my family and I were living back in London, and we ended up, through a cold email, deciding to work together virtually. We met twice before we ended up, my family and I, going back to Australia. And we've now been working together for the last couple of years from opposite ends of the world. Definitely not the easiest way to build an impact startup, but through the wonders of Zoom and Trello and voice nets and setting alarm clocks, it's something that we're managing to make work pretty well. Humans are 22 times more likely to remember a story than any other communication. And so we need a lot more stories that help people to reimagine a compelling future and create images of what the world really could be like. Here's a few examples. So firstly, we've got Planet Shapers. That's a TV series that talks all about the stories of sustainability innovators. In the middle, we have Octonauts. It is an animated TV series for preschoolers that actually weaves climate into the ocean adventures of these little creatures. And we've got Zac Efron on the side there. He's one of the co-hosts of Down to Earth, and he and Darian Olian visit all these places where there's all these sustainable and healthy ways of living. We need So many more of these stories in popular culture if we're to counteract the constant onslaught of doom and gloom and misinformation that is out there. As Michael Margolis says, the stories we tell literally make the world. The fourth ingredient, solutions. 56% of young people now believe that the world is doomed. 56%. And they're those people growing up to then be leading this world. We need to stop talking so much about problems and be focusing more on the solutions. This is an incredible visualization that I think has just stopped now, unfortunately, but it's a visualization by WATG architects. And it essentially shows a New York City block as it is today, and then what it could look like if there were to be vertical gardens and rooftop farms and more street trees and spaces for people to congregate and cycle. If we could really interweave more nature-based solutions into our cities and really try and live in quite a different way. Nice, thank you. Now, these are three of my favourite ways to immerse myself in climate solutions. If you've heard of 2040 Project Drawdown or Solutions House, can I have a hand up? Okay, not too many actually. Okay, you're in for a treat. So 2040 is a documentary by Damon Gameau, and it's told through the eyes of the story of his daughter, and it's all about what the year 2040 could be like if we implemented solutions that exist today. It's one of the only positive climate documentaries I've ever seen. Project Drawdown, that is the world's leading resource for climate solutions, science-based climate solutions, backed by a huge amount of evidence, fellowships, people. And then Solutions House, and oops, the E has moved, but Solutions House is a series of conversations at New York City Climate Week. And that happens each year, and the theme of that is answers only. If you haven't watched 2040, read Project Drawdown or listen to the Solutions House conversations, do yourself a favour and do it, because it just will give you a lot more restored faith in where we're going and what we can do. Now, this is also pretty fun. So Futerra, who also is part of Solutions House, they've actually developed this view of the 2050 Awesome Anthropocene goals. And essentially that is their take on when we meet the 2030 SDGs, what's next for 2050 after that. And as they say themselves, these goals are wildly ambitious, deliberately optimistic, other way around, and beyond where we are today. But that's the whole point, because we need to actually have a vision of where we need to get to and where we want to go to actually be able to work towards achieving these things. And the fifth ingredient, co-creation. So when we collaborate with others, we can achieve so much more. So the first logo there is the Coal-Loader Centre for Sustainability. So when they approached us last year about doing some workshops with preschoolers about sustainability, that wasn't actually in our radar. We were products-based. And we started doing this first raft of experiences, and it has all grown exponentially from there. There was a whole lot of demand from early learning centres, schools, even high schools now, that we didn't even realise existed. But people need experiences in a playful, fun way, and it's an amazing way to learn. In the middle, co-creation there is around co-creating solutions. And so in our experiences, we always try and do something that's creating solutions with the kids. So that top one there is around using recycled materials to design a vertical garden for that actual school that the principal wanted to make happen. The middle one is around using loads of pre-loved Lego to create visions of a greener community going forward. And the kids put in super cool stuff, you know, like waterfall gardens and solar panel gardens and all sorts of stuff we didn't even talk about. And then the lowest one down there is a enchanted edible garden we created with an early learning centre that's theirs to keep and, you know, continue to grow. And then finally, we've got a super exciting collaboration that's bubbling away with Tipiak. They're a First Nations education provider, and we're working together to create experiences that intertwine First Nations wisdom with modern climate solutions. And not only is that a collaboration between the two of our organisations, thank you, But we've been successful in getting some funding from the City of Sydney to actually hold these experiences at the Australian Museum next year, and through support of other organisations, thank you, like the Australian Association of Environmental Educators and Greenhouse, which is an amazing climate ecosystem too. That was all made possible as well, or even more possible. And I know this is only just the beginning, and we have to be talking way more about how First Nations perspectives interweave with all of this climate solutions piece, and how we draw so much on that wisdom and work forward with them. And so nature has always really been on top of this whole collaboration thing, that, nature really gets it. This is geese here flying in a V formation, and it's just one example of what nature does to work together. And these geese are able to move so much further because they're doing this together, and it's estimated they actually can move 70% further just because of how they do this together. So I'd like to wrap up tonight with a question for everybody. Thinking about the 5 ingredients I've just shared, so play, interactivity, stories, solutions, and co-creation, and then thinking about your own personal sphere of influence, whether it might be your family, it might be your workplace, it might be your community. I'd love you to think about how can you contribute to playfully reimagining our collective future. Thank you.